Welcome, everybody, to the A team with RC. Tonight, we have an extra special guest coming on our show. But in the meantime, we have another A initial filling in. So I think he's gonna bring himself on. And then there's Amber. Oh.
Hey, remove that other one. Hey.
There he is.
Guys. Hello. How y'all doing?
So
do I get to be RC today? Hi, Amber.
She's so excited. She's excited.
I think she has to go a different direction here.
Mm-hmm.
Greetings, one and all.
Yeah, we're here. We are here.
I guess I'm RC tonight.
That's right. Filling in for RC. Well, Arlington, why don't you tell us about our guests that we have coming on?
Absolutely. Well, tonight our special guest is Renee Washington. She's a TV sports analyst. She's a host. Man, when I say she has a plethora of jobs, she does. She's an MC, model, speaker, aspiring author. I'm telling you, she does a lot. And she is she's here with us tonight because we're going to talk some Eagles and Chiefs for the big game. You know, we can't say those two special words, you know, that always are spoken out at this time of the year. So we got to say special, the big game. You know, we don't want to get in trouble. That's why this is the 18 RC Big Game Edition. Exactly. Is she back on? Is playing games with her right now.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Amber. Can she hear us? She can't.
Think so.
I don't think she can. She can't hear? Oh, no. Okay. While she's getting that together, we'll let her do that. I'm going to go ahead and bring our special guest on right now at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Renee Washington. Oh, Renee,
Hi,
how you
Renee.
doing?
Hi, I'm great. How are you guys?
We're good. Thank you for coming on.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate the intro and love that you guys are talking about the big game. Happy to be here.
That's awesome.
Excellent. So go ahead, Amanda, kick it off. What you got for?
So what do you enjoy about when you were a college reporter? What do you enjoy about that?
Yes. Yeah. So that's a good question, Amanda. Honestly, for me, working with networks like ESPN, which is the primary outlet for the college games that I do as a sideline reporter, I'm an analyst. I do play-by-play as well. So I wear many hats. And I just have an opportunity to be in the mix of what drew me to sports. You know, as a former soccer player myself that played at a high level, I love the opportunity to have a chance to be able to cover so many sports, cover so many teams, be a part of so many different broadcasts, and share my own perspective, insight, analytical views on the game, and also just to be connected to what I love. I love sports. I love all the excitement that they bring and all the fun and joy, like regardless who you're cheering for, at the end of the day, it's sports and it's fun, especially when your team's winning. Eagles. And just honestly, as a college reporter, it just is the same adrenaline rush I used to get as a player that I now can get on the sidelines, meeting different people, talking with different people, players, coaches, whoever it may be. So I enjoy just the bare aspects of being involved in sports in just a different way.
That's awesome.
All
Thanks,
right.
RC.
Let's
Hi,
RC. Let's see if we can get Amber
Hi,
back.
sorry I'm late. I got caught in traffic, but I didn't want to miss this interview. So I do apologize, Ms. Washington, for that.
Oh, no need to apologize. Renee is fine also. Thank you for joining us.
Okay. Thank you.
So Renee, you speak about being a college reporter and stuff, and you've gotten a chance yourself as an athlete. What was like the transition getting in from athlete to now reporting at this rate?
Yeah, it was difficult, honestly, especially because it required me to also change my focus and my priorities as an athlete. I was so focused on training, what was next. And I know for me, once I had a chance to get to play some professional soccer, coach college soccer, it's when I really started opening my eyes to the other side of what I can do as Renee, the professional, Renee, the adult in that sense. And so being a part of the transition for me was just to get back to what I did as an athlete. What can I control? What can I do to grow my name, my brand, my reps, my experience? How can I get myself into these various rooms? And I was just having a conversation earlier today, actually, with a group of college students that are aspiring journalists themselves and want to work in sports. And I was telling them, you have to be comfortable opening doors for yourself, advocating for yourself, finding ways to, get a foot in the door, whether that's through networking, going to events, creating your own content. I know as we're even here on a show ourselves, there's so many shows, podcasts, digital platforms, radio shows, so many different aspects of the industry you can get into. So for me, the transition started mentally of committing to it, taking that leap of faith, and then really taking a step back to see what was realistic that I could do myself in my career to help build my resume, build my reps, build my confidence even to be comfortable speaking on air on so many different platforms and so many different games and sports and leagues and things like that.
So Renee, how have you seen the role of women in sports broadcasting change since you've started?
It's changed tremendously. And it's fitting we're having this conversation on National Women and Girls in Sports Day. And for me, I think some of the biggest things that I've seen are more women. I mean, I still go into plenty of rooms, I can honestly, sadly say, and I am the only female there. I am often working with all male colleagues, but I'm seeing more women, and I'm seeing more women in various roles. We don't have to just be the on-air moderator and host. We can be in the front office. We can be in positions of power. We can be the producers and editors and the analysts. So I think we're seeing, and I'm happy that we're finally seeing more women involved in various roles of sports. Obviously, women's sports in general are growing. You look at the NWSL and WNBA and women's college basketball specifically. Women's sports are on the forefront. They're on the rise. People are finally paying attention to the talent. And so I think it's now becoming more of a level playing field where we're no longer looked at as just getting those pretty roles and minor roles. We're taken more seriously. There's more credit, there's more conversation, I should say, around it that are giving women more opportunities to be taken seriously in the industry.
Awesome.
Absolutely. I wanted to also ask you, what's it like then to work under a tight deadline? Given information last minute, how easy or how hard is it to incorporate that information?
That's the part of the industry that is really difficult. It's the breaking news. It's the last minute changes. It's when you're going into a broadcast and you're planning on highlighting a player and that player gets injured. And now you have to change the entire rundown and plan of a pregame show or whatever it may be. So I think something that I actually enjoy is the chaos. That's partly what drew me to the industry. It reminds me a lot as a player that you go into every game with a game plan, knowing that game plan is going to change and you have to be able to pivot on the fly. And I personally try to make sure I can always be a quick thinker, problem solver, and incorporate whatever the new changes into what we already had planned. That's where all that prep work, all the research you do, everything you do leading up to it really comes in handy because now it's just adding a small change versus an overall overhaul. So for me, it's a matter of understanding viewers never really know what the plan was. We may have production meetings, we may have an idea of what the show and the rundown is going to be, and we might have to pivot as we go, which has happened far too many times. But the viewers don't know that. So as long as I can carry myself and with the right poise through it, it's very seamless. So it's difficult, but it's also a challenge that I think kind of keeps you on your toes because you really never know what's going to happen in sports. I mean, who would have predicted? Look at the NBA, for example, all the major trades we're getting right after the game's ending, the Lakers, Mavs, 3-team trade for Luka Doncic. And Anthony Davis, things like that, you never know. So I kind of enjoy, which I don't know if that makes me weird or I don't know what that makes me. I enjoy the chaos. I enjoy like constantly having to be on my toes and being ready to just kind of pivot and go with the flow.
That's great. RC, did you want to go?
Sure. So I noticed at your very vast resume that your minor was Spanish and psychology. How have you been able to use that minor into your work? Like, have you thought about maybe doing a show in Spanish?
It's remarkable you asked that question, RC, because so I have an undergrad degree in public relations. As you mentioned, my minors are Spanish and psychology. My master's degree is in educational leadership, and I'm a sports reporter. But what people don't realize is it actually helps. All of my degrees help in different ways. So psychology is life, like being able to understand how people think, what makes them tick, what motivates you, intrinsic motivation, all the different aspects of the mind and the psyche in that sense are every day. In terms of Spanish specifically, I've actually found myself in situations where I'm either interviewing somebody that might be like we're speaking Spanish as their first language, or even just behind the scenes with people I'm working with. And when you have a chance to connect to someone, it's as simple as, speaking their language quite literally, it is amazing the way their eyes just light up and the way that you can instantly make that connection where they feel a little bit more valued and respected. So I've actually done some interviews in Spanish. I will never claim myself to be a perfect Spanish speaker. I can understand it, read it, write it. I'm fairly comfortable. And I did do some interviews, more for podcasts, not anything on major networks, that I did in Spanish. And it was intimidating, terrifying. I don't know if I would ever get to that point, but I do like the fact that I can at least comfortably speak it if needed, especially more for the behind the scenes types of conversations. So maybe one day, but we'll see.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Talking it over with Renee Washington here on the A-Team with RC. Amber's having a bit of some technical difficulties, so hopefully we'll get her in, because I believe she has some questions that she wanted to get in touch with you as well. Let's see what's going on right now. We're going to see if Amber can get on right now. Amber, can we hear you?
Hello, folks.
There she
There
is.
we are. There we go.
I don't know what happened.
Things happen like that. That's what makes the show effective, because you never know what could happen. And she spoke about the chaos that can happen behind the scenes, that can happen at any given moment. So
adapt and overcome.
But go ahead, Amber. If you got some questions to fire off at Renee, please. The floor is, of course, it's yours. This is your show.
My show. Wow. I feel honored. Miss Renee, I know being a female in the field that you are, it's a tough one, right? So what is the largest hardship that you've had to overcome, the biggest challenge you've ever had?
Just one. First of all, I love the question, because it's a difficult one to actually answer. Honestly, it's a never-ending challenge. And I will say, I think it's just how fast-paced it is really difficult, because sports are 24/7. You can have, even within your job, a schedule of when you're supposed to be working, but then breaking news happens. Then things such major events. I mean, we're on the verge of the Eagles-Chiefs matchup, the big game. We also have any sort of other major events, all-star weekends and finals and championships and drafts. They're all day. There is no ever going to sleep. And I think that fast-paced aspect of the industry is one that you can kind of get caught up in. You can get caught in just kind of the hamster wheel of day after day after day, the grind, so to speak. And so I think a never-ending challenge I always find is not only the balance aspect of that, but giving myself grace in knowing that I'm not going to be up to date on every single thing that happens as soon as it drops. I might miss something. I might be asleep. If I had been asleep a little bit early, I was on the verge of going to my bed when the trade dropped between the Mavs and Jazz and Lakers. I was like 5 minutes away from being in my bed. I should have been asleep already. So I think it's hard to give yourself grace, because we're so consumed by social media and instant updates and instant access. And in the microwave society that we live in, that means we mentally, I feel like, think of quick results, quick response, always on top of things. And we're human. We can't do that. We're going to miss things. Or even when I take time off, oh, forget it. I feel so guilty. I feel like the worst person in the world. So I think for me, it's that balance of understanding, although sports may be 24/7, I still have to live. I still have to be able to, go hang with family and friends or go lay on the beach or whatever and be able to unplug. So I think it's the mental guilt that we naturally give ourselves to be on all the time.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from on that. With that being said, I don't know if you've heard anything. This might be breaking. It might just be a big load of rumor mill. Who knows? But I know that Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent, along with a couple of other producers and musicians out of Houston, are in the talks of possibly purchasing an NFL team for San Antonio.
I did not hear that.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious.
You heard it here first.
No, don't put me on the spot like that. But I am kind of curious as to if that's going to come to fruition. And if possible, are there any special resources that you pull from in order to get those breaking stories?
Yeah, so two-part. One is in terms of if 50 Cent is able to get a team to purchase a team, I think it could happen. I mean, we're seeing so much crossover of sports, music, entertainment, politics. There's so much crossover, regardless if people believe there is or not, it exists. And we're also seeing that more people want to get involved in leadership roles to help change the way that sports are organized. That's why you have a lot more athletes. I mean, Unrivaled, the women's 3v3 basketball league that just started this winter. You're seeing so many leagues and so many teams that have current players, coaches, former players, and even with 50 Cent, rappers and musicians and entertainers involved, because they bring a different perspective. And I feel like it's needed because you need that versatility, I should say diversity, in the room of who's making these decisions behind teams. It should not just be back in the day, it was typically like a family-owned team. It just passed from generation to generation, the Hunts and different families throughout sports. And that's great too. But why not mix in some of the traditional way of front office and ownership with the players and the people that maybe have a different perspective? So I could see it happening because also 50 Cent, powerful person, very, very actively involved behind the scenes and a lot of like producing, directing, ownership types of things you don't even realize. He reminds me, him, Jay-Z, there's some major people in the public eye that are quietly involved behind the scenes in a lot of things. And I could see him doing that. And I think it'd be great. And so to your question about breaking news, it's to have sources. So there are people, I think the difference is there are also reporters that their specialty area is to break news. So they're the ones that have their direct line of agents, coaches, players, where they're getting the updates. I personally never wanted to be that type of reporter because it's a lot. The Ian Rappaports and Shams and Woj before he stepped away, you are literally 24/7. You've got people blowing your phone up. Hey, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. Did you hear this? Confirming this, fact checking this. I got to draw the line somewhere, and that is it. So personally, I actually just stay up to date. I do have some reporters that I actively follow all their like tweets, any posts that come out. I've got my alerts on my phone for different sources. So ESPN, NBC, different sources that I have where if they drop a post, an article, a newsletter, an email, send some bird mail, like whatever it is, I'm getting the update. So personally, that's how I just try to stay close to it. And I do that for every team I cover. Like covering Gotham, I'm getting all the Gotham updates. And, as soon as they drop. And then there are some behind the scenes like Slack channels. So within the networks I work with, like the NWSL, for example, we have our own Slack channel where we can share the updates and things that are dropping in. So there are some other communication methods that are happening behind the scenes that typically when a story is broken, there's other people that already know about it, but they haven't been able to publicly share it yet because there's steps that has to run through to logistically first get approved. And then you hear the breaking tweet or the post or the article, but it's already been talked about usually by some others behind the scenes. So I am in some of those smaller areas of getting the updates.
So how would you say you build your relationship with the athletes and the coaches? How does that come to you, and what goes into that with them?
The key is to be genuine, to be personable, because they're so used to having somebody sticking a microphone in their face, asking them questions. And I really, really try to make sure whenever I talk to players and coaches, and it's not an interview, we're not talking about the sport. We're not talking about your team. We're not talking about the game. You know, I've been at events, for example, where I'm in the event mingling with players and coaches and other sports personnel. I'm not going to then take that time to say, oh, yeah, how's things going with practice? How are you feeling about the season? It feels too much like work. The same way we don't do that with our own colleagues and coworkers. So outside of quote unquote work interviews, if I'm having a conversation with them, I'm asking, how's your family? How's the wife and kids? How's your husband doing? How's your, I saw you got a new house or a new dog. How's that going? So I try to be really genuine, because I think we all need that sometimes, just to have a conversation instead of it always feel like I'm prying for information, because there are typically reporters, unfortunately, or just people in general that are prying and asking those questions, trying to get you to slip up and say something you're not supposed to. And so you will then get players and coaches kind of shutting down and more reserved. So I try to make sure to go into it like, this is not me this is not me working. I'm not reporting. I'm not asking questions. And it could even be the 5 seconds when a game ends and the player comes over and I'm waiting for us to get queued up from for the producers and stuff to let me know that our interview is live. In those seconds, hey, nice to see you. How are you? You look, congrats on whatever. I always make sure, as we're seeing one of my interviews right now, whether it's college, professional, right before the camera goes live, I'm having a quick conversation. If it's the first time meeting you, I'm introducing myself. I'm shaking your hand. I'm saying good game. Congrats on the win. I'm just having a conversation. So I try to lead with that more than anything, beyond just leading with, I'm not just a reporter 24/7. I could be a friend. I played sports. I'll, even if I have time, make sure to share a little bit about myself. I'm a Hall of Famer, 3-time All-American, played pro. Oh, I know so-and-so that you know. So just building true relationships. And it goes a long way when now, as they see you around practices and games, you'll get the hi, how are you? You'll get the hugs. You'll get, I have coaches that have introduced me to their family, their grandkids. Oh, look, this is my grandchild who's at the game for the first time. Come meet them. I want them to feel comfortable, like I am a friend, and that they can trust me in that sense.
That's great.
Well, I read that you had many internships and many jobs, but if you had a magic wand, what would be your dream job?
I love hosting shows. I just love, the same way we're doing right now with having a conversation. I love, clearly, if you can't tell, I love to talk and have conversation. I could do that all day, every day. Games are a whole different level of excitement, but ultimately, I'd love to be a sports talk show host, where I can just sit down in a nice comfy chair and we can just talk the entire show. Because I think that there's, for me at least, more room for personality, to get to know each other. If I'm doing a sideline hit or anything like that, it's so quick. I have 20 seconds, 30 seconds to say my hit and then get out. I have, 1 or 2 quick questions to ask the coach or the player. You're not really getting to know who I am as Renee, and I don't really have a chance to even share that. So that is more textbook, rigid in that, structured in that sense. I definitely enjoy the chances to have a conversation. And now maybe through that, we're eating food, we're maybe snacking, anything with food, count me in. We're snacking, maybe you're having a drink, whatever it may be.
Nice.
Well, it's funny you mentioned food, because I realized that you're a 3-time national champion here, right? I mean, this is pretty amazing.
Yes.
An all-American athlete. What kind of diets, as an athlete, a model, and media mogul, what kind of diets do you despise versus love to have?
Oh, I'm so bad at the worst person to ask this to because I'm really bad at what I eat. I do think though it all depends on your body. You have to be able to listen to, and that's for everything. Like with balance, with eating, like you have to listen and pay attention to how your body responds and stuff. Because the way that I love my burgers and pizza and pastas and desserts. I could eat dessert all day, every day. Cookies, cakes, brownies, whatever it may be. But I do also try to make sure to balance that, especially now that I'm getting older. And because I'm not playing anymore, I'm trying to be better and more mindful of what I'm eating, when I'm eating it. So like, I don't eat late. I have a cutoff for bedtime of like, I'm done eating at this time. Then there's a cutoff from when I'm done drinking any sort of like sugary drinks and juices, and now it's strictly just water. So I do try to keep, because our bodies are our temples, and obviously with all the things that we do, none of that matters if we're sick or not feeling well or whatever it may be. So I do actively try to make sure to take care of my body. The rest, what I'm eating, what I'm drinking. I mean, I'm sitting here, I have like my concoction of like a coconut water with lemons and random nutrients and stuff in it. Like I'm very, very mindful of what's going in my body, even the greasy stuff. So it's all balance. It's all balance. If I'm going to eat something greasy one day and splurge because it's the big game or something, then I'm going to make sure that after that, I'm going to also sprinkle in the rest of my healthy fruits, vegetables, whatever other things I need.
Yes. What would you say out of all of your reporting was your favorite sports comeback story to cover?
That's a tough question.
I know, I kind of put you on the spot.
There's been a lot of great stories that I've done. I'd have to really think on that one. I mean, I've had like the full circle moments of players that, you know, injuries or had a person in their family pass away, or coming back to kind of like where they started. I don't even know about that one. But you know what? I think I would say I had a chance to be a part of covering I don't know if it's not a comeback story per se, but I had a stretch where I was actively in my first season covering teams that went on to like win championships. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, like I felt like I was helping to bring the good luck. So like the first season I worked with the Philadelphia Union, they won the Supporters Shield. They didn't win the championship, but they won Supporters Shield for best regular season record, which hadn't been done. The Washington Mystics, the first season I covered them was when they won the WNBA championship. So I like to think anytime there's a championship involved, especially when it's a team that wasn't expected to win a championship, it is absolutely an incredible story that catches you by surprise. You know, it's one thing if you're a team that's, you know, winning year after year, but if you're a team that's had that comeback, you were, you know, under 500, turn around and become a championship level team. Those are always a feel-good story too. But then I have had some really good personal ones that honestly even made me very emotional to do, of players that have overcome tremendous adversity, physically, health, family setbacks. Those are a whole different, championships are one thing, but to have that type of accomplishment is on a whole different playing field that it just is remarkable to see what players have been able to do. So those are probably the best ones, but they also are, and they're so emotional, but they're so needed to be shared.
Yeah.
I can't think of a person.
Well, I read that you're an author. So what inspired you to write your book, The Dream is in Your Hands?
Yeah, so that was a great collaborative book that I was able to be a part of. So I wrote a chapter in that book, and they brought together various writers to contribute to it, which is a really cool experience. And I told my story about my experiences through soccer as someone that was really, I guess I could say, as a kid in soccer, the struggles that I went through to overcome that and then have the success that I did. So I just shared a little bit of insight through my own lens of experiences. And I have more books that I'm actually writing. It's on the docket.
Really?
Yeah. And I actually have some that now I'm working to get published. So for me personally, it's interesting because I actually got into the industry through writing. I've always loved writing. I was the kid in school. First of all, I loved school in general. So I loved everything about school, but I really loved when we were assigned papers. Probably one of the few students. It's like, oh, you do a 5-page paper. And I'm like, yes. I just love to be able to write stories and write things out and write them in a way that through my words could paint a picture and articulate something deeper. And I also was the person that was like doing a paper and like, whoa, Renee, that was really deep. That was really like, I'm crying over here. So I love to be able to have a way with my words that helps connect with people. And so I found it to be kind of a hobby of mine now that in addition to all the many things that I'm doing, it's nice to be able to just put my phone away, maybe put on some light music and just write. It's de-stressing. It's personally something that allows me to pour into another hobby and passion and interest of mine. And through that, I hope to continue to share more insights. And as a motivational speaker, my writing is similar, where it's now through writing, through books, that people can read something that's going to help them out. And I actually read books like that myself. I read a lot of books, specifically self-help books that are motivational, that not traditional autobiographies or biographies, but a combination of utilizing experiences to share advice and lessons. And so that's what I'm writing still, but that was an incredible experience just to kind of get my dip a toe in, so to speak, and get my first go round of being a part of a published book.
The thing that really strikes me the most about that is the fact that when you take that writing aspect, the passion that you have, and you turn it into like a public speaking event, you know, for example, the TEDx, the Wilmington Salon Talk, and you use the word, you're talking about searching for the words, how an individual is planted and not buried. I absolutely love that phrase. And the fact that you made it a foundational type of motivation behind what you're doing was really amazing. You know, the empowerment and the education through all the resources that you're pulling through. So tell us a little bit about the Planted Not Buried organization.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Amber. And honestly, it was something I myself had to learn in understanding that we in life sometimes are in a space where we feel like everything is going wrong. It feels like a dark space, like we're not where we're supposed to be. We're struggling, we're dealing with challenges and adversity. And it's the growth mindset of understanding it's not that I'm failing, it's that I've been planted. So that's why it's not being buried. You think of something that's buried, it's dead, it's done. That's it. Versus you planting a seed that as you continue to water that seed and you give it the correct nutrients and sunlight, it's going to blossom into something beautiful. And so there are moments in our lives, season in our lives where we are planted, where we're in a season of needing to pour into ourselves, quite literally, through whatever, you know, pathway that may be to help take that next step, to help blossom into something bigger and better. And so I first heard it through actually a sermon that was talking through the concept of how there are various trees and plants that it may take them years to be planted, where there's you know, building their roots are growing, they're just under the surface, grinding, chipping away, growing, and then one day they just sprout into a massive tree. But it wasn't just one day. It took years to lead to that point. So I had to embody that in my own life of understanding. And I still have times where I have to remind myself, because we're human and we're not perfect. I still have to remind myself, I am planted. And you plant seeds all over when you network, when you invest in yourself, when you work out, where you don't see the results right away. But as you continue planting these seeds, you are allowing yourself to have a beautiful harvest. But we just don't always know when that's going to be. And that's the hard part. You don't know when it's going to grow and manifest into something bigger and better, but you have to continue consistently watering it, giving it the proper sunlight, giving it the proper nutrients. So I took that concept and spoke on it in my TED Talk as a way to kind of paint a picture to people, because I think sometimes people better learn through visualization. And we can all visualize a small planted seed under the ground. That's nothing. It's just a seed that eventually turns into a massive oak tree or beautiful, hydrangeas, whatever it may be that comes through that seed. So you too are in a season of possibly being planted. What can you control? What can you do through that season to make sure you're going to have a beautiful harvest? And so it's we're all in it, whether it's as a parent, as a spouse, in your job, in your finances. We often have those seasons of doubt and feeling like, oh, woe is me, I'm not doing enough. And we have to understand our path, our timing is very special and very specific. And you don't always know when that's going to be that things take off for you, but you have to consistently keep watering it, consistently keep working at it.
I love that.
Thank you.
So what would you say to yourself back then when you were thinking about doing everything and doing all of this, right, to where you are today and becoming a model and doing sports and all of that? Like, what would you say to all those young girls out there that are aspiring to be like you and what you're doing?
I would say to just start where you are, because I had that same imposter syndrome and doubts and hesitancy. And I always wonder, like, how could things have been different had I not waited? Because having a public relations master and my master's in education leadership, I didn't think I had what it took to be a reporter, because I was so focused on comparing myself to what my classmates were doing and all the internships they had. I had, like, as you mentioned, RC, I did have a lot of internships. I had 8 internships in college, and through that, they were all in things around public relations and marketing, not in journalism. And so I, as the young mindset, thought it's too late. I'm too young. I was 21 years old at that time. So it's not that, never too late. And no matter how old or young you are, it's never too late. So I always say, just start where you are. There are things at your fingertips. Look at what we have, especially today: podcasting, content creation, social media, YouTube channels, writing. And there are so many resources you have, but I think oftentimes we think we have to have the job to start doing the work, but we can start doing the work before we get the job. And so I personally wish I had that mindset younger and sooner, because I would have saved myself a lot of heartache and headache and stress to understand that I did have ways to become a reporter without even having the job. So I definitely hope that, and try to tell others to do the same thing. Just whatever you have as a vision, you got to start somewhere. Start chipping away now, one day at a time, because when I look back, everything I'm doing now, for the most part, are things that at one point I thought I couldn't do. At one point I was like, no, I'm not good enough for that, or I'm not pretty enough or tall enough, or I don't speak well enough, or I was very shy, even though people do not believe that. I was very shy and quiet. Oh, I can't speak in front of thousands of people or be on a stage, and I'm doing everything that I doubted myself in. So I think it's just to give yourself, again, I always say, give yourself grace within that, but know that you just have to start somewhere. You know, the whole saying of like a journey to 1,000 steps starts with one. Take that step. Just do it. Jump right in.
And with that being said, I just want to ask you real quick. We have a big game coming up this weekend with the Eagles and the Chiefs. What are your thoughts going into this weekend's game?
Well, I know that Ron is saying that if you could go back, you would not be a Bears fan. If anybody's looking for a team, we welcome everybody. Okay, bandwagon, I don't care what the term is, come be a fan. I am so excited for this game Sunday, because come on over. We have right now, the city I live in Philly. The city is electric. It's green everywhere. Everybody, it's like the holidays. You know how around the holiday season, everybody's jolly and holly jolly, all the excitement. That is what's going on in the city right now. It's an incredible buzz. And there's just a lot of belief around this team. I really believe in them. I think they have the pieces, the depth, the talent. I just need them to run the ball. I need them to keep the game simple. I need them to make sure not to breathe in the direction of Patrick Mahomes, because he will flop and get and be able to pull, pass it, roughing the passer, pull any types of flags. So be smart when pressuring Patrick Mahomes. And I also do understand that this group is going to have to really dig deep. It takes a lot to beat the Chiefs. They have had so many games this season. I think it was all except for like 2 in the regular season that came down to like one late play being the difference between them winning that game or having lost that game. They had so many games they won by 3 or less. This team is beatable, but they've barely been beat. And I think that for the Eagles to actually beat them, you have to minimize, especially the late game mistakes. You have to minimize those mistakes. Keep it simple with the play calling. I don't know what's going on with Jalen Hurts, to be honest. At times, it makes me a little nervous. Keep it simple, quick routes, get open, feed them the ball, hand the ball off to Saquon, go to work. Because this should be a great redemption win for the Eagles over the Chiefs. when they go ahead and do the right things. That's all.
Here's my concern, though, is that Patrick Mahomes, to me, is consistent, where I don't feel like Jaden is. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Patrick Mahomes consistent? I think
he's
the referees are a little
consistent.
bit more consistent with them flags. Is
Oh,
what the
here we
referee.
go
That's where
with
the
that
consistency is.
That
Here we
part.
go with that conspiracy. No, go
That's
ahead.
where the consistency is. You can call it whatever it is, but even their own fan base realized against the Texans, yeah, that was kind of messed up.
I mean,
Iffy. It was iffy.
that personal foul was a little not. They didn't even touch Anderson. Didn't even touch him, and he flopped. I mean, this guy's getting better than LeBron.
Hey, I'm a LeBron fan, but I do agree with you with that, Amber, because I will say, when you look at what Patrick Mahomes does, he's got it figured out. He's running out of bounds. He's slowing down as he's running out of bounds so that guys are running into him. And now it looks like, oh, flag, they just knocked him out of bounds. No, Patrick Mahomes is baiting guys in to be able to draw flags. He's also selling anytime. That's why I said you can't breathe near him right now. Anytime the D-line pressures Patrick Mahomes, he's flopping. He's going to the referees and the officials like, why didn't you call that? Did you see that? They touched me. They hit. It's a late hit. And so I think when you have dynasties, Tom Brady and the Patriots were the same exact way, and it used to drive me crazy. Everything goes their way. Everything would go their way. And you have major game-changing drives with the Chiefs where it's a difference of 7 points on the board or off the board. Third down, you think that you got them, and then here comes a flag, and now they get another chance. It's a roughing the passer. You give them a first down, they go down and score. So there have been scoring drives that we've literally seen, especially in the playoffs, a major swing of 7 on the board or off the board. And so I fear, because much like Brady with the Patriots, Mahomes with the Chiefs does feel like that dynasty. But we also know there was a team that was able to knock off Brady and the Patriots in their peak dynasty era, and it was my Eagles. So I love the underdog fact that everyone is expecting this to be a three-peat. It's a Taylor Swift bowl. We're going to get all the – I already heard rumors about like Travis is going to propose, yada, yada, yada. Good. Keep hyping up the Chiefs. Sleep on the Eagles. If everybody wants to just focus on how crazy Eagles fans are because we threw snowballs at Santa, even though every fan base is crazy, this team, this fan base is different. And I'm fine with people – just like everybody picked the Commanders to beat the Eagles and we walloped them, put up a 50 burger on them, keep expecting nothing from the Eagles so that we can go in and then just do our part. Because I do get concerned, Amber, about Patrick Mahomes and the officials. It's terrifying.
But here's where I look at the history of dynasty teams. And it wasn't until Brady and, Deflategate and all of his wah-wah, cry, flag throwing, quarterback flopping mentality. Because, let's look at dynasties. Let's be real about this. Cowboys, it didn't happen there. The Niners, it didn't happen there when they had their dynasty, but that was also a different type of game that was being played. I'm telling you, right, man, and it's funny because I'm looking at all these old school players, looking at these young bucks going, man, if y'all played in our time, y'all wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes. It's unreal. Like, they really sacrificed their bodies back in those days.
True.
I know we got to make sure safety's a big part of it, and I understand that, but Brady was the catalyst that kind of started the QB flop, so to speak. And yeah, I'm going to stand on that. But at the end of the day, I'm telling you, you got a lot of Eagles fans going out there right now. And yeah, I'm going to be as foolish as the mayor, EGLSES,
There you go. Eagles.
All right. Let me say this. I want to throw this out there. I want you to understand this very clearly about the Chiefs. The Chiefs in this dynasty, you can say all you want about the refs and how they deal with the refs. The main thing about the Chiefs in real time is moments in the game that they will have where they can move the ball and they can make things happen, whether on the defensive side,
capitalize on the moments.
Well, it's not just the capitalization of the moments, though. It's also when you get those calls, it totally creates a deflating moment against the opposition. So when you knock the wind out of their sails, that just allows you the opportunity to pump up even more. and then they just take off with it and go. And that momentum just keeps rolling like that snowball hitting Santa, you know?
Yeah.
And that's
And I look
that's
at
the deal.
games. I look at games this season. The Falcons. We can even look like in the regular season against the Chiefs, the Falcons, the Bengals, the Ravens. Postseason, the Texans. They had games that I was like, wow, their opponent lost the game, but you can actually reverse it. The Chiefs do find a way to win games. They have great game management. And I will give credit. I know Jeremy was saying in the chat, I do give credit to Patrick Mahomes being aware enough to do what it takes to get extra yards, to get the first down. That's good game management. That's good just awareness. And so to be able to beat a team like that, as you were talking about, Amber, it is momentum swings because it becomes deflating, but you have to stay locked in and engaged. And the Eagles RD line, you know, the Jalen Carters and Sidney Browns and different guys, CJ Gardner Johnson, we got to make sure they're very, very disciplined. They're playing smart. They're being aware. Our O-line has to make sure to protect Jalen and give him time in the pocket to see targets. Devontae and AJ have to go on and get open. AJ, put the book down and get open. Saquon's got to just keep bobbing and weaving. Like, everybody has to do their
so
part.
good.
They have so good.
And that's and
everybody
and
has
that's
to do their part to beat a team like the Chiefs, because if you give them an inch, they're gonna take it and run
They'll
with it.
take a yard.
You have
exactly,
to
and that's
you
the
can't
thing.
leave points off the table. You have to score when you have drives that put you in scoring position, and you have to make sure that that's the hard part. You cannot shut off for having oops, because that one play, and that's what has helped them even get to this point. Are they the best team in the league? No. I look at a team like the Ravens, the Bills, even beyond my Eagles fandom. There are better teams that are sitting home right now. Why?
Because of the refs.
Because of now wait,
It is.
right,
It is Barkley's time. It is his time. That's all I
and
gotta
it may
say.
be, and I have nothing against that. My thing is, when it comes to the Chiefs here, is that they could be yardage wise, they could be outclassed, they could give up more yards, but again, it's about the moment when it occurs. If a big play does happen, whether it's the ref or not, it's just like Jeremy had mentioned about the 8 that Spags likes to throw, and he does it at moments when you think that your opposing team is going to drive down the field, and they'll do it on purpose. Just to see how the team reacts after he throws 8 in the blitz mode.
Yep.
As soon as that happens, the game changes, because a lot of people want to use, and I get it, I'm one of them. I'm not a fan of how they getting all the reps calls and stuff or whatever, but at the same time, the big moment comes in for them, they are attacking it. And opposing teams just do not know how to get around it. And that's the issue here.
I'll be honest.
It's like what she said, lock in.
I'm looking at it, and it makes me, when I look at the Chiefs here for the third time, it makes me think back to Renee's Hall of Fame speech. I'm not supposed to be here. Like, legit. At the end of the day, I'm sorry. I can't give credit where credit's due. If their own fan base, their own fans are saying, yeah, the Texans got holes not once, but twice.
Major.
Because of calls by the referees.
That is always one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to sports. I love sports. I love through and through. But there have been teams that have won championships that I'm like, you were not deserving of that championship. Right. And it's hard to say the word luck, because it's truly not luck. You do have to factor in the talent, all these other things. But there are absolutely so many things that have gone the way of the Chiefs that this season, that's why people say it's rigged. It's in the storyline. Obviously, they drive ratings. They're one of the highest rated. I mean, their games specifically were one of the highest rated games, especially even in the postseason. So from that standpoint, that also makes people, suspicious of why they keep winning. But it does remind me of, you look at like Patriots Seahawks years ago. There's been some championships that we've seen where teams are literally on the doorstep of winning a game and blowing it.
And losing it.
Renee, how is that for you, though, with having those emotions and those things about a game, like about the ref situation, and you're interviewing and you have to, in your head, you're like, I know you didn't win this game. But then at the same time, you're there saying you won. Like, how do you hold that in? basically.
Oh my gosh. I've been a part of so many interviews where in my head I want to say, you don't deserve this, you got outplayed, you got lucky, but I can't. You have to really be able to separate. And I know it's ironic you asked that question, because I often also find people very I hate to use ignorant, in the sense of not understanding this is my job. So regardless, like I worked with the Washington Commanders for a season, for example. That was horrible to do, to have to be interviewing players and on the shows with them, talking well about them. As an Eagles fan, a born and raised generational Eagles fan, was a nightmare, but it's my job. I have to be able to do it.
Right.
So you have to be able to separate like who I am as a reporter versus who I am as a fan. And if I'm on a show, like right now, this is more laid back. I'm going to talk, you're asking me about my team. So I'm going to be more we. But if I was talking about the Eagles, on for work, for example, it's the Eagles. It's them. It's not, I will still work in there that I'm a fan, of course, but you have to have those boundaries. And there have absolutely been times where I'm interviewing someone and they're not a great person, or they really didn't deserve it. And I have to stick to, unbiased, just strictly asking the questions. And then what I try to do is positive reinforcement more than like being a rude person. I don't want to ever have a bad interaction, so I won't let that be known. But if I'm rocking with you as a player or a coach and you had this massive comeback and I really, really, really respect it, you're going to get a totally different energy. Like I'd rather be, my baseline is very calm, cool, collected, very demure. But if you get like amped up, then I also was feeling it. Like, okay, we're here. I'm also excited because you're getting me like rah as well. So I don't go too low, but I will always go the other end with excitement, not with like disrespect, because it's my job.
Right.
Well, go Eagles.
Will you be at the game?
No, I will not. I'm actually going to be in Philly, and I'm actually happy about that though, because it's a lot of. I'd rather be able to watch the team as a fan. This is too much.
I hear you.
This is massive. This is, and as we talk about, not only for the Eagles, as much as I want the Eagles to win, I also need the Chiefs to lose. Like both things are very, very. I can't handle a three-peat. So we need to win this game, and so I need to be locked in. So I'm going to be dialed in. I'm actually watching. Shout out to No Fly Zone here in Philly, because they're throwing a massive party at the Ave for anybody that's local. I'm helping them to host that. And so I'm excited to be there watching live with all the many Philly fans. And then we'll be racing on Broad Street, singing Kumbaya after we win, climbing.
There you go.
Any poles or anything, but others will be doing whatever they want to do. And we'll be shutting down the city after we win the Super Bowl or the big game.
I like how you're planting the seed. You're planting the seed.
Go, RC.
On that note, with that being said, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you at on your socials?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. This was so much fun. Love all the details and work you guys put into it, from the branding to showing my clips to the questions. So thorough, which I respect and appreciate. And I'm everywhere on social except TikTok. But I'm on X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. It's all Renee P. Washington. And then my X is Renee P. Wash, since my full name does not fit. And then I have a website, reneepwashington.com as well. Feel free to get connected. I love some trash talking and talking about any sport, any game, any team. But I appreciate you guys so much for having me, though, and allowing me to join you as we get ready for the big game.
All right.
Well, we will have you on for a trash talking session. I would love that. Okay. I think that would be great.
See, this is where I have to maintain the composure and stay professional.
Well, we can stay professional.
I'm a big trash talker.
Oh, yeah. It's all in good fun. That's the best part. But no, thank you so much, Miss Renee. Y'all check her out. She's amazing in all facets that she does, whether it's the modeling, the reporting, the talking, the motivation, getting out there for her group. And I'm just so honored to have met you. Thank you so much. And I will be the first to say that you are supposed to be here. And it's awesome to see how you flourish as a woman in sports, as a female and male-dominated entertainment. It's an amazing thing. And thank you for paving the way for the little ones like us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that means so much. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me. And again, I just appreciate you guys more than you know. So thank you guys.
Thank
Keep up the
you.
fantastic work.
Thank you for being a
Absolutely.
great role model for the young women out there.
Thank you,
Yes.
RC. Thank you guys.
Love
Thank
you.
you.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Oh my gosh, she's great.
How cool is that?
Amazing.
I was so
She was
stoked.
great. Yeah, she was really great. So, guys, before we go, I want to do our picks.
Yeah, no. I
Mhm.
totally picked the losers the last time we were up. I was seriously hoping the Texans and the Lions were going to make it, man. I'm eating crow. I'll take
I know.
I'll take that.
Well,
healthy
I'm going for
service.
the Eagles all the way, and I want them to win big. I want to see a good game, but I don't want anyone to come back and say, oh, they were lucky. No, I want a very big lead, and I want them to be consistent throughout the game, but I'm going for the Eagles.
So we got 2 Eagles. Both of you are going for the Eagles.
And you?
I'm going for the commercials. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm
Like
Chiefs,
at this
baby.
point,
I'm Chiefs, baby. I'm Chiefs all day. All day. Yep. Give it to me.
So
I mean,
is Patrick going to win an Emmy after this game? Because he's such a drama queen,
a Golden Globe.
Patrick
Golden Globe.
Mahomes is
I'd like
the
to thank
GOAT
everyone who has
of
helped
the
me,
UFL,
all the referees out
of the
there,
NFL.
all of you little guys. Thank you. Without your yellow flags, I would not have been able to make this possible. Thank you. Thank you. Brittany,
That's
we
true.
did it again.
Oh, gosh.
And no one's getting engaged after the Super Bowl. I'm letting you know right now.
Why? I mean,
I got a feeling it's going to happen because why? If they do win, it's a three-peat. That's historic. I think it'll happen. And then I'll even go as far as to say I'm pretty sure he'll end up retiring.
No way. No way.
Oh,
but I can't see the headline, and she gets a ring.
Going to retire for the longest. Are you kidding me?
Everything is historic nowadays. Let me tell you, everything is historic. So
He
why
will
not
go
just
out
add this
on
to
top. If he wins this, he's
epicness
retiring.
of the world right now?
Telling you.
I do want to say this. Also, huge shout out to Danny Garcia. She posted 2 videos today on Insta, and I have to shout out to her and the UFL because they did feature the St. Louis Slam in the video, and I think that is amazing, and I love it. And I sent it to Mert Davis, and I was like, Mert, you need to see this.
And let's share that.
Yes. So
share it on your Facebook, on everything.
Yes. Please share it. The biggest takeaway of the video I thought was very cool was empowering young women in sports. And I think that it is great to see more and more and more. I did bring something up the other day, and I do want to address this. I did bring up the fact that I put in the search bar on Google, okay, women in the UFL, okay? And at the very top, and the majority of all of it was where I can find women's UFL gear. It wasn't about the women in the UFL. So I'm just projecting this out because I love the fact that I go to the NFL, women in the NFL, and it was a plethora. It was so cool to see. So all I'm saying is that I would love to see the UFL put more on about the women in the league, whether they're referees, whether they're behind the scenes, whether they're in corporate, no matter what positions they are. Yeah, some people say go on LinkedIn. Guess what? Not everyone has LinkedIn, and it's great to see in Google. So I'm just putting that out there. I think that would be.
You're planting the seed.
I'm planting the seed. Thank you. That's right. I am planting the seed.
We are supposed to be here, guys, but that's definitely a topic for another show. In the meantime, y'all, it is Women Crush Wednesday, guys. That is Amanda, and there's RC. My name is Amber. Thank you so much for joining us here at the A-Team with RC, and we are looking forward to seeing you guys. Check us out at Fuel on our Roku and Fire Stick devices. Thank you so much for coming out, guys. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
And thanks, Arlington.
Go Eagles!